Hey Heat fans, welcome to a very special road edition of Wednesdays with Ward. We are in San Antonio, Texas on the ballroom level of the Heat's hotel for the week, alongside Heat head coach Troy G. Ward. And Troy, before we get into a little bit of hockey, first, just over the years, how have you enjoyed coming here to San Antonio and visiting the city?
Well, it's a good city, and the fact that, Brandon, we're right downtown, we're right on the River Walk. It's kind of a unique city in its own way. A lot of tourism's, a lot of big conventions that are here, so we're in a nice hotel. It's a good area for the guys to get out and get a bite to eat and just see a lot of different parts of the world that we don't often spend time in. So it's been good.
All right, let's get into last night. Unfortunately, you guys fall to the Rampage 5-1. First time they beat you all year. Just how disappointing were you with what your team showed last night?
Well, I think the result was disappointing. I mean, the process of what we went through to get to that part was had its good and its bad. We did some good things. At one point in time in the game, even through two periods, it was a pretty tight game, and then the wheels kind of fell off in the third there a little bit. And, it hasn't happened a lot to us, so what we're kind of going through is new to us in a lot of ways, losing 3 in a row. But these are all things that happen in the American League. They happen in the National Hockey League. It's just part of the process, so I'm more anxious to see how we deal with it and how we keep moving forward.
Got off to a pretty good start. Kandari scores a minute 35 into the game, but after that, just didn't really generate a whole lot towards Markstrom. How much credit do you give the Rampage for playing a good game?
Well, you give them credit for sure. I think even Hamilton last week, I give them credit. I mean, you've got to be fair to the opponent you're playing, and I give them both credit. I thought they did a nice job, and at the same time, we're kind of refining a new identity for ourselves. We get some different bodies, and our working part's a little bit different. We're not as heavy as we were early, and we're not as fast as we were early in the year. So right now, as our rosters change, we're trying to reform our new identity as to who we are and how we're going to win at this level, and it's been a little bit more of a process, that we've had to go through.
Troy, on this year's roster, you have a lot more younger guys compared to older people. How much has the age factor crept into your guys' play these last few weeks, do you think?
Well, we're playing a lot of teams that have more experience than us, that's for sure. I mean, we're really dressing one guy that's been with us, and that's Dean Arsene, and Adrian Foster's here right now as a veteran guy, so that gives us 2. But in general, we're a pretty young team, obviously, as you stated. And it's a factor for sure. But at the same time, I'd rather have youth and mistakes and energy and a team that's growing than to be an older team. We've been pretty much old the last couple of years, so our ceiling has been fairly low. Like whenever we've gotten to a certain point in the season, we've known as a staff, like, well, this is our ceiling. We've reached it. And this group hasn't come close yet, even though we've had a good first half. There's some room to improve, and we've got some young guys to do it with.
And let's talk about that first half. You're just one game away from reaching the halfway point of the season. Just overall, in your perspective, how do you assess the first half?
Well, it's been good. It's been a pleasant surprise. I think the number of games we had in November and, the December schedule the way it was, I think we've kind of beat the odds a little bit out of the gate with a young group, as young as we've been. We got some good goaltending. We got good power play out of our guys, and we had a good 5-on-5 play overall. The only thing that you could say has been an Achilles heel all year has been our penalty killing. It just hasn't worked out no matter what goalie's been in there, no matter what defensive schematics we've used. That's been a sore point for our season. So things have went pretty well, and we're happy where we're at.
So you mentioned the penalty kill has been a negative spot so far. What's maybe been a consistent positive thing with this year's group at the halfway point of the year?
Well, I'd say the power play up until the last 3 games had struggled a little bit, but for the most part, our power play has been good. I think we've controlled the pace. Our 5-on-5 play has been great. Like, we don't really make a lot of systematical errors. I think, this year playing the Calgary system, which they're playing up top, we've adjusted down here. We've made some changes to what they do and how we play it, and I think in general we've played pretty well within that, and we've done a nice job with that. So those have been good things that we've done, and I think we've been consistent. Any good team or any good player has to have some word of consistency attached to it, and we've been able to do that as well.
Troy, help us tee up the next game Friday. It's going to be a big one in Texas against the Stars. They're playing some very good hockey this year, and it's going to be a game for first place in the West Division. Just what are you expecting on Friday?
Well, it'll be a good game. I mean, we've had 2 different games there. We've had a blowout that didn't go well against us, and we've had a win there that, maybe our guys didn't anticipate where we blew them out at their rink. So, it's kind of a, let's just call it Cracker Jacks. We don't know what the prize is. It's 2 good teams that are going to want to battle each other. I think they're obviously in a good framework. We're a little bit down right now based on the last 3 games, but we've got some resolve. We've got some good players here, so we've got to step up to the plate on Friday. And it's just a measuring stick for me. It's kind of the halfway point, as you mentioned, and it'll either go really well or it won't go so well, and it'll be a barometer as to where we're at, where we need to improve, and what parts of our team we like, what parts do we need to really work on in order to stay pace with them. This is a team that won the division last year, and I would expect them to think no differently. They've got a good group of veterans over there that they make good plays. So we'll have our hands full, but that's a good thing right now.
And finally, Troy, the American Hockey League expected to announce the all-star roster for this year's game. Just maybe who are some of the guys on the Heat that you feel are deserving to play in that game?
Well, that's a tough one. I mean, we had a good first half. You know, anytime you have one player having success, it's because of the team. So, you know, but you obviously have to ask the question, which guys beg to be up in that area of saying that they're all-stars, and you have to start in net with Yanni Ordio and say that he is deserving as any other goalie, obviously, in the West. And then, you know, you look to our player of the month in November, which was Ben Street. Ever since he's been down here, he's kind of led this team, and he's put himself, even missing part of the season, up in the top 10 in scoring in the American Hockey League, so he's a candidate to be there. And on our backside, if I took a player in every position, I'd have to say Chad Billins, just because of what he's done, and the same thing with his points, which is usually an indicator that you are an all-star. There are complementary players that you could say that are all-stars as well, but these are the guys that are probably in the forefront of not only fans, but certainly, I think, league people and other team coaches. And, you know, if they all got honored, that'd be a great thing for them.
Appreciate the time, Troy. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Another edition of Wednesdays with Ward in the books. The Heat and Stars, Friday night, 5:30 puck drop. We'll see you then.